Hey everyone, it's Nightlight9, and this video is going to be a little bit different. This is one I really thought back and forth about whether or not to even record, but ultimately I'm going to put it out there because I just don't want to have one of those moments where I say in a couple days from now, man, I wish I would have just put that out. So you can do with it what you like. You know, take the advice if you want, toss it out the window if that's how you feel. But what I want to go over, and I'm going to break this video into two parts. First, I want to discuss what I think you should be doing before the banners run out, the crossover event banners, and also why I would not, or why I'm personally not pulling anymore for Lucia's weapon or for her costume. And I know this is, it's a little bit controversial. Probably a lot of people already have or are planning to, depending what they see maybe coming up. And I do know that there's likely going to be another Christmas banner. So doing what I've done and spending all of your last crystals again, maybe not the best play, but it's what I'm doing, and I'm explaining it to you so that in future videos, you at least know where I stood and understand, why I make some of the decisions that I make. So the first part here is this is the banner that I had 3,000 crystals this morning, and I did one last pull on this banner. I did get another copy of Amaranth's Claws. I wasn't expecting to get a 5-star copy. I was just wanting to get as many of the parts as I could. And if that meant getting a couple 4 stars or whatever, I was willing to take that risk. And the reason is, I think both of these weapons, the Zidane Sword and the Amaranth's Claws, are extremely, extremely good weapons. And again, this is just my opinion, so do with it what you like. But free energy here, I mean, obviously the goal is to get it to OB6. And it's in a special place in the game because it's a limited weapon. We can't go for the parts for this weapon. We can only overboost it by getting character-specific weapon parts, which are very hit or miss. Sometimes we get them in events, but we don't always get the characters that we need. So I think that the further away you are from OB6, obviously, the longer it's going to take you to get it there. And that's assuming that there aren't other weapons as well that you want, to try to OB6. But because these are the hardest ones, this is why I think it is worth, if you're thinking about pulling it all before seeing the next banner, or, anytime before December 7th, right? Because that's when this banner ends, I would highly advise it. One thing I really like about both of these weapons is that they complement each other so well, right? We've got physical attack boosts, for the materia slots, which go with the physical attack weapon. We've got the boost physical attack R ability, which is great. The boost physical ability potency, also great. And this number here, I mean, this weapon slaps, okay? 1140% at OB6, that is no joke. And one of the things that I find very useful because of the way this weapon works is when you're going into dungeons or something like that, where you're going to need multiple different elements, sometimes, especially as free-to-play or light spenders, it is not easy to set up for 3 different elements. It's very easy, though, to go all in on a non-elemental damage weapon. Now, obviously, this is physical, so if the enemies are strong to physical attacks, right, if they buff themselves in that way, or if you can't debuff their physical defense, yeah, that's a problem. I understand that. I fully understand that. But I still think that there is more value in a weapon like this that can be used so flexibly than going for, things that are a little bit harder to put together. And I think it's the same thing with Amaranth's Claws here. Obviously, this isn't going to hit nearly as hard as Cloud's weapon, but that physical attack increase potency high while you're doing a 630% non-elemental damage hit, it really just can't be ignored. And again, the weapon, it all goes together. And that's what I like about it. So, my advice is this. This banner ends in basically 2 days. After that, you're not going to have a chance to get parts for it. And for that reason, I pulled again on it because I was at OB4. I thought, man, who knows? At best, I get to OB5. And that's where I'm sitting now with 130 parts towards OB6. And I also used all my Cloud parts to raise Zidane's Sword to, I think, OB2 and maybe OB3. But I think it's a big deal. And that's why I spent so many crystals pulling on that. Now, the second part of this video is It's really not meant to discourage people. This is just my opinion. I want to go into the reason that I am not pulling on this banner any further. Yes, I'm only half a stamp card from getting Lucia's outfit, but I'm just not going to do it. In fact, that was kind of part of the decision where I was like, okay, I have 3,000 more crystals now. Do I go for more of this card and try to get to Lucia's costume? Because I think I could probably get there before that, banner runs out. Or do I go pull for the Cloud and Tifa limited time banner, which is obviously what I chose to do. Now, I've gotten a lot of feedback from people, about my opinion for Lucia's weapon. And so I think it was a little bit misunderstood, and I want to make myself clear. And so that's the main reason that I'm going to do this. I want to look at Lucia's weapons, because if you're free to play, or, somebody who just buys the monthly passes or something like that, and you have limited resources, let's just look at the most likely way that if you're using Lucia, or you were using her prior to this banner, how you probably built her up. So the first weapon we're going to look at, we're going to start at the bottom. We're going to look at Barn Swallow. Now, this is a magical attack R ability, which is great. However, it doesn't really make sense on this weapon because the C ability is a physical, non-elemental damage. So this weapon in here, I think, is just very confused. The boosts on it are not what you want on this weapon. And ultimately, I just don't like the fact that it's boost magic attack, but a physical damage weapon. Yes, you could use it as a sub weapon. But I'm guessing if you were somebody who was building Lucia up prior to this banner, you probably weren't wishlisting this weapon. The next weapon we're going to look at here is Black Rifle. Again, this one boosts physical attack, which would lean you towards, if you had it, or were building Lucia, trying to get a physical attack build. It's also physical damage on the C ability. Moving over to the next one, we have Mad Minute. Boost HP, boost physical ability potency, and another physical C ability. We're going to kind of skip over these next ones, the 1976 SSR, because it's a support weapon. It doesn't really, you wouldn't use that if you were building her as a damage dealer or even a support damage dealer, most likely. Again, here, we're going to skip over Tranquilizer Gun. Now, back to Serpent Eater. Again, Hydro Shot. Very useful. Boost water potency, useful. Physical water damage. Again, towards the physical leaning. And now here with Pulse Gun, we get to our first magic weapon that actually at least makes some sense. It's a wind weapon, so this is good. It does magical damage. Attack boost here instead of magic, I'm not a big fan of, but we could let that go. Okay, this is her first, in my opinion, magic weapon that you would use on her if you wanted her to be your damage dealer. That's one weapon so far. The next one, V39, again, a generic attack boost, deals physical damage, again, for the C ability. And here we are for Bald Eagle. Again, boost physical attack as an R ability, and deals 340% physical damage. So at this point, we've looked at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 weapons. Only 2 of which even cater to magic attack whatsoever, and one of them I think is just kind of whack. So where I was going when I did that banner review, or when I've talked about people having her probably set up to do physical attack, is that if you look at her weapons, I'm guessing the ones you wish listed were things like Mad Minute or Bald Eagle, and you probably set her up to do physical attack. When I talked about Sephiroth and my regrets, etc., I'm looking at this weapon and I'm saying, oh, all of a sudden they're giving us a weapon that does something great, but it's magic attack. And I can tell you the problem becomes, with limited resources again, it's not that you can't build her up to do magic attack. And in fact, I think this is probably the best weapon that's ever come out for her. Just my opinion. It's got the right materia slots on it. The abilities actually, go together. Things are looking good. And obviously there's the new costume, which gives the Earth Arcanum. It's great. I cannot say bad things about the banner. It's all about what your account has, and can your account benefit from it, or can it benefit efficiently from it? And I'm willing to bet that for a lot of you, it cannot, because we do have this wish list down here, and everybody's going to put things on their wish list that they need for their account. I can tell you, I'm still trying to get more copies of Dark Heavens, because That's the only way I'm ever going to be able to make that useful. I still can't really set him up for physical damage dealing. And the reason is because all the stuff I'd been wishlisting for Sephiroth was magic attack based, because that's what he was doing at that time. Similarly, if you've set Lucia's wish list, or your wish list to, primarily get her physical attack weapons because that's what you were building, having to switch direction, or feeling like you would need to switch direction to make the magic attack setup work, in my opinion, it's backtracking, okay? Because realistically, to get the strongest team you can, you need to probably change your wish list as few times as possible, because you want to get those weapons to OB6, and you really can't do that if every time you get a weapon to OB3 or 4, you're like, oh, wait a minute, let's go into a different direction. Let's switch up the wish list and go for totally different weapons to make this one thing work. Just my take on it. And again, if you can't do the earth damage, first off, there's always materia. It's not as good, I understand. It doesn't have the Arcanum behind it, I understand. But with weapons like Zidane's sword, I'm willing to bet that a lot of times you could just substitute something like that, and if it's strong enough because you went all in for, a specific weapon, I'm willing to bet that that would work out for you. I'd be really curious to hear your thoughts now that I've kind of clarified what I said. And again, I'm only saying this because there's 2 days left, and this was something I thought a lot about, and ultimately I did. I pulled the trigger on going back to the first crossover banner instead of pulling more for Lucia's costume. Maybe I'll regret it. Let me know if you think that's the case. I'm totally fine with that, but I had to give that opinion. I had to let you guys know because there's not that much time left, because that way in the future, if you see me using things or not having things, you at least know why. It at least helps explain the decisions that I make moving forward. If this helped you out, please subscribe for more content. I appreciate everybody's support, and as always, thanks for watching.